Ciao, ragazzi. Wow. Wow, wow,
Such
wow.
a
So we are,
lovely
we
shirt,
I know.
Marcello.
It's the same one, Mike. Me and you, do we have the same one?
2019.
2019,
Yeah,
sure.
such a good guys with a
Ah,
nice shirt.
where's your
Showing
shirt, Ottavio? Over
mine is look how nice it is. Looks like a
there.
PJ shirt, but it's not. It's just a t-shirt.
My, yeah, mind you, having obviously this is on the back of watching Italy under 20s beat South Africa under 20s for the first time at the under 20 World Championship to put Italy right back in the conversation for potentially our first ever semi final. And having looked at the group, I think I'm not sure what the final score is with Georgia in the end. Actually, do either of you?
20-0, I think Georgia won at the end.
Okay, so Georgia didn't get a bonus point, so they'll be on 4 points. So that leaves the group Italy on 5 points, South Africa on 5 points, Argentina on 5 points, and Georgia on 4 points ahead of the final round. So literally all to play for. But first and foremost, Ottavio, how was that for you? I mean, I enjoyed that. It was stressful at times, and I think especially that 10-minute period before half time and that sort of 10-minute period before the final 10 of the second half was, I almost thought that we were going to throw it away. That's kind of how I felt. Was that the same for you?
Right. When there were those moments then where we didn't bring other points. We commit a lot of penalties. They start like rushing because the clock was going, so they start attacking more. They found this couple of try. One, the second one more was like, oh come on, what's happening now? Again, not again, because sometimes we saw that with our team, now playing really well for 60 minutes and then starting start to melting. But this
Yeah.
didn't happen, and the it's a strong mental team. This is really strong, mentally strong, which is it was great today. Also, the ADN DNA of the team is the one
DNA.
to fight with the first eight players. Love games like this. The rain helps us in this way, I think.
The sort of games that I used to hate because I
Yeah,
used to
yeah.
play. I would play 10 or 15
Oh,
and I'd be stuck at
ouch.
the back. I'd be shivering in the back. But don't pass me the ball. I don't want it. Seeing all the big boys covered in mud. I mean, the conditions were appalling. That how that just cannot be. That international rugby is that's just not at the scratch. That was just. I think I'm not sure which game was played on that one before. It was Australia Ireland maybe was played on the same pitch earlier in the
Uh,
day.
I'm not sure myself.
oh my
I
God, it
did watch that game though.
wasn't no, France New Zealand. It
France New
was,
Zealand. That was
yeah,
France
was
New Zealand
wet.
played on that before, and then we had to sort of play on that afterwards. So, but I thought that was the
Mm.
the conditions and seeing the boys just covered in mud. Like you couldn't even recognize shirts and
No, it was a
the
mess.
you could even hear it on the ref's mic. You could hear it on the ref's mic, the squelching of the mud. It was just abysmal. But who cares? Who gives a fuck, huh? Who cares?
Right. Leka, how they said,
We
no,
win.
in South Africa. So,
Yeah, we schooled them. We played them and we played them at their own game in front of their own fans. Like, it doesn't get any better than that, does it?
Mike, how you see the game?
Oh, what I was saying just off air, just before we came on, we played exactly how I thought South Africa was going to play to us.
Mm, yeah,
We had some of our first team players on the bench as well, like a mini bomb squad. We literally
Yeah,
took
literally.
we literally took what South Africa do to other teams and we did it to them. That's what happened. We had a strong set piece. We backed our set piece. And then one thing that I'm really happy about was the multi-phase, especially like sub
mm,
5 meters. The fact that we managed to retain the ball in those crappy conditions and we barely knocked on, like that's clearly something that was worked on massively. It's just really happy, And I think there's one thing that we do need to highlight, right, for our South African fans, because obviously, first of all, commiserations, right? But there is no shame in losing to this Italian team. There is absolutely no shame. They came third in the Six Nations. There's no shame in losing to us.
And also they lost a couple of players early in the game. That sucks when you lose players at the beginning, like we did with Aminu, but for other reason, for us for a penalty, for a red card, but them for a injury. And when you are already changing something in the team, you are not expecting that kind of stuff. I was expecting something a little bit different, but probably because I was looking at this game like with a better condition game, so probably more kicking game, more attacking and pressing down the back three, our back three from them. But instead, for example, at the beginning of the first half, I saw a really good box kick from Gallo, from Casilio, and then tackle from Odiase when the kick receiver received the ball, and then Jackal penalty for us that was really South African, but was really Italiano in this kind and this style of play that we have. So really good.
That's the thing. I think this under-20 side of having seen that Six Nations, we like that 8-man game. We like to almost play a really efficient game of rugby. I mean, we've got the ability, we've got the players out wide, but a lot of the time we don't really use them. I mean, when we played England at Gloucester, dominated up front. The same with the under-20s against France. Just the conditions ended up being really good for us. And I think that the turning point maybe was Gallerini coming on at half time, because he scoring 2 tries inside 8 minutes of coming on, and just I mean, he is one of a few boys in that team that you could genuinely make an argument for being involved, later this year when it comes to World Cup time. I genuinely think that.
And also, if we think about 70 minutes of Gasperini at hooker instead of Quattrini that came in, Berlese, the other guy that is one of the most experienced in these under-20s. Usually he play blind side. Today didn't start playing. Bringing Brisighella at 10. We start using also different actions with some pull pass and playing on the second line of attack, which is something that we didn't we weren't able to do against Argentina, and that also it's something different. If you bring something different, it's always good, because it's something that probably the other team is not expecting sometimes. No, and it's also why, because the defense, the South African defense, is always so narrow and come with a lot of pressure. So we need to create space on the back to start trying to attack. But was mud, rain, sweat, and tears great like this?
Yeah,
incredibly satisfying.
I think that was a game where we probably would have benefited to have sort of like May on. I'm not necessarily saying the first game wasn't, but May, I think, probably would have really enjoyed that game against South Africa as well. There's probably some pain, so thoughts go out to him not being able to play this one, but good on the rest of the boys.
But I think that for me is still a bit of a, not a concern as such, but the kicking game struggled against Argentina, and I'm at points, I know the conditions were awful today, but at points the kicking wasn't great. I mean, Brisighella was, I think Sante in the first game was a bit iffy, and Brisighella was the same today. I often thought that, I think when I'm not sure who it was, Sante came on and started kicking kicking to the corners.
Yes,
and it seemed to be much better when he came on, because I thought early on Brisighella struggled, but then the conditions were awful. So I mean, I guess maybe I'm just being picky.
No, but also it's different because you play 15. You were able to do a couple of the classic kicking game as a fullback. But then, for example, when you have to kick for the corner, was something that usually Sante does, and we saw him doing it in the first game, not so well. Now a little bit better, but it's funny because the second fly half came in, Sante was the one with the cleanest shirt at the end of the game. Not the classic thing, the number 10 with the cleanest shirt.
That was me. That was me.
Marcello.
See, I was the one who would be the clean one, and everyone wondering whether I even played. And I just say, no, I kick the ball, I pass the ball, I don't get involved in anything else. I leave it.
That's the first 8 play that game.
When is the final round of games? Is that Sunday or
Man, I think 5 days probably, something like this. They have to wait.
Monday or
I think
Monday?
they need a lot of rest after a game that
Sure.
it's something like playing 2 games when the conditions are like this. No, I didn't look at it. I'm gonna give a little quick check now on the World Rugby website.
But I guess now it's kind of can actually dream of a semi-final now. I mean, we've got Georgia finally last up to comfortably beat Argentina today, and I think for us looking at that game, it's quite difficult really because they pushed South Africa really hard. Obviously, we'll beat Argentina today, and difficult to know how bad. Well, not how bad, but how us and Argentina compare, given the red card played such a massive influence at the weekend. So
I don't think it's a
But-
given, is it? It's not. It's
no,
not a
it's,
given.
it definitely is not a given. I think we know more than anyone that, especially for us, we don't playing against teams we should beat has not always been an easy thing for us to do. But in the circumstances, if you'd have told me at the start of the tournament that we were going to play Georgia in the final round and a bonus point win would probably give us a semi-final spot, I'd have snapped your hand off for it for sure.
There's one player that I want to highlight real quick. Lorenzo Casillo, right? He
Man of the match.
man of the match, right? He was man of the match against England at Millfield when we beat him in the under-18s last year before last. He is looking like the real deal. He is looking like a really talented scrum half. At times, I didn't even realise because of the mud that he was playing scrum half. He was playing fly half as first receiver, and a couple of times when they were trying to get the ball out the ruck and he was shipping it. He looks like a really quality player, and I think Benetton are one of the teams that are benefiting sort of drastically by what happened at Wasps with the senior hires, but also him coming in to the academy as well. I think he's potentially one to look out for the future.
Especially in the conditions like his accuracy of box kicking and his quality of box kicking was actually really quite good given what he was having to deal with. It was very good.
Right, and also he try really hard. You see sometimes like losing balance, but is to try to push even more the kick up in the sky. So he tried in that way. Let's see. We're gonna play the 3rd of July against Georgia at 12. I think 12 South Africa time.
It's 4 days.
So it's gonna be Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm excited, boys. I'm really
Very
excited.
Yeah. Very excited. I just think it's there, and imagine Italy under-20s in a World Cup semi-final. That would be it's unheard of, isn't it? Incredible.
Yeah.
That'd be.
Any given
you know
Sunday.
what? It's funny because for once, all the Northern Hemisphere team have won against the South Hemisphere team, because Australia lost against Ireland, France against New Zealand, we won against South Africa, abbiamo vinto contro il Sudafrica a casa loro, and Georgia won against Argentina. So it's North Hemisphere week.
That's what we love to see.
What a great way to end it, I think. Brilliant. Well done.